I want to fire Richard Sherman coming out talking about Antonio Pierce wasn't given a fair shot. Da da da. Bro, listen. The first game of the season, they lost the game because of him. He's not a good head coach. His clock management is no good. It's terrible. His when he calls a timeout or when he doesn't call a timeout, he doesn't understand when. He goes for it and he doesn't go for it. He doesn't understand when. He's not qualified for that job. You know where he needs to go, coach? Delaware State. Go coach there. You are a Division II head coach, Antonio Pierce, not an NFL head coach. So Richard Sherman, stop trying to make it seem like, oh, he's getting a fucked up deal and he's going to get fired. Yes, he's going to get fired because he's atrocious. He's atrocious. He's bad.
You know, let me revert back to AP. AP now, and this is always a telltale sign of if you're not ready, right? He has Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis, a tenured NFL coach. If you feel that you need someone there that has been in those types of situations, because I have had to argue, I argued for 3 hours with Raider fans, some I know, some I don't, about AP not being worthy. And I finally had to say, like, bro, be honest with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you love him because he screams Raiders and drives a 64 Impala? I get it. I think that's fucking cool too. But it doesn't mean that he's done a good job. It doesn't mean that he hasn't mishandled the fucking clock. It doesn't mean that he fucking admittedly called a play to throw it out of bounds to waste 3 seconds and you fumbled that snap and lost to your arch rival Chiefs. It drives me insane. So I will continue this rant on AP because this is the argument that I've had and with these Raider fans. It's like I will give them a list of why he should not be, right? Bad time management, one. You let Luke Getsy. I don't know how much you were involved with hiring Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy, horrible hire. It took you way too long to go upstairs and fire him. You were the head coach. You started Gardner Minshew when AOC looks like he might have been the right guy. These are all decisions of a head coach. And you know what their answer is, Rafa? Well, maybe he didn't make them. Well, then there's your answer right there. If you're the head coach and you can't make those decisions and you can't stand up to your GM and say, I'm the head coach, I am in the position here to run this team. If you don't have the balls to say, I want AOC, I want a quarterback in the draft, I don't want Luke Getsy, I want to fire Luke Getsy. If you don't have the balls to do that as a head coach, 32 guys in the NFL, then you shouldn't be a head coach in the first place. So I'm tired of it. Did he get a fair shot? Maybe not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's this job is very, very difficult. No one said it's easy, right? Only 32 people in the whole world have this job. It's extremely difficult. But he has proven over and over again that he can't handle this. And I'm sorry. I love your 64 Impala. I love that you scream Raiders. I love that you were in the Coliseum in LA and then went to Paramount High School right down the street. I love that all about you. You know what I don't love? All the things I just mentioned before. So I'm gonna go on and I'm firing AP. That's why I'm firing. And Raider fans, they'll argue with me, and I get it. Like, he gets us. What does he get? That we've been losing the last fucking 25 years? Like, bro, enough's enough. Enough's enough. Blow everything up. Build it back up. Tom Brady, please save us. Tom Brady, please save us.
I got a question about that. So, he's obviously like a quote unquote locker room type of guy, right? Who like brings his team together, like camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
So people are equating that to how Dan Campbell is of a coach, and people are like, well, Dan Campbell went 3-13-1 in his first season. He didn't get a fair shot. Look at the Lions now. So people are trying to be like, well, if AP can rally a locker room, and if he can get guys bought in, can he do that with a good team? And like I say, maybe 2-3 years down the line, they have a winning record.
Let me answer this. I'll answer this for you real quick. Number one, Dan Campbell didn't have one of the 4 best receivers in the game at the time to start the season. Whether DA is old or not, Devontae Adams is still, he was, to start the season, he was one of the best receivers.
Agreed.
And he ended the season last year as one of the top 5 receivers. And he didn't have a top 5 defensive end in the league, arguably top 3 when the season started. So he didn't have Dan Campbell didn't have a defensive tackle, probably the highest paid defensive tackle in the league. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but they paid a bunch of money for a defensive tackle to come in. Okay. They spent money there. So it's not like he got a shit team. Okay. And the way he ended last season, he should have continued that into this season. So, and Eddie's 100% right on them making a decision to go with Gardner Minshew instead of AOC, because AOC fits the style of offense that in reality is what Antonio Pierce wants to do, which is kind of run the ball, pass, probably run 60-40 type deal and be able to play defense, which is what they did at the end of last year, their last 7, 8, 9 games, whatever it was, he took over. So Dan Campbell getting a 3-13, he went 3-13-1 or whatever. That was a whole different team than this Raider team. At the end of the day, you still had some pieces and you regressed from the way you ended the season. How many games did he coach last year?
I think it was 5.
5? Yeah.
5 or 6.
Okay. And in those 5 or 6 games, they were what, like the number 1 defense in the league in that stretch?
Yes.
Or top 3. And then you start this completely, you're none of the above. You're nothing that you showed in those 5 or 6 games you did this year. And you were in all of these games in the beginning, and they were mistakes that you made. You made those mistakes as a head coach. Like for me, like Gerard Mayo in New England, that's a shit team. Like that should, in my opinion, shouldn't even be a consideration to fire him. Like none at all. That shouldn't even cross the desk of the GM or Robert Kraft or anyone. That's not even a thought. There's guys that shouldn't be fired, coaches that shouldn't be fired. That's one of them. He should not be fired, period. Like that's just, you get a pass. And next year, if Mayo goes, 5-12 or 6 and whatever, at 6-11, then it's an improvement. But he's got a shit roster. This man didn't have a shit roster. That bad quarterback play, they had better quarterback play last year when the kid was a rookie and you didn't start him. And like Eddie said, you went out and got an offensive coordinator who couldn't coordinate Justin Fields. And now you got to coordinate these 2 guys who couldn't fucking run from here to the corner.
And add this: if you were such homies with Josh Jacobs, right, and you knew what you wanted to do, you got to stand up to Telesco and say, "Dude, I can't coach this team. Guy. I need this dude. I need this dude." So he's homies. I saw it literally in the press conference. Because the last game of the season last year, the Raiders boat raced the Chargers, really stuck it to him. And when they announced Telesco and AP together, they were taking jabs at each other. There was like AP's like, "Dude, you're my boss. I just fucking ran your team up and down the field, kicked your guys' ass." They were like, it was not good from the very beginning, in my opinion. But, I don't care. You can coach or you can't coach. There's motivators, right? There's motivators, and then there's guys. You think you think Andy Reid is, a politician? You think Tony Dungy was a motivator? They were not. They planned, they schemed. Bill Belichick. The last time anyone's been inspired by him was as a 23-year-old girl who's naive. I mean, how he inspired her, I have no idea. Look at the best coaches. Bill Parcells wasn't a rah-rah guy.
No.
You don't have to be a rah-rah guy. You have to know what the fuck you're doing. you have to plan, you have to scheme, and you have to set a standard. And the Raiders haven't had that all year. They just haven't.
It's been bad. It's been bad for the Raiders, and it's terrible. I mean, they got dude. He's just been bad. That's the thing. He's been actual shit. Like if he would have done a good job and the team's just losing, like, all right, no, you've mismanaged plenty of time on that clock in plenty of games.
Michael Brown says all 2000s we've been doing this.
Oh, I love it. Michael Brown for Raider bashing. He's always in. He's always in.
There's also bashing Devontae Adams. He said Devontae leaves the Raiders thinking he can escape sucking ass, and he gets even worse.
Dude.
Yeah, but he's
doing it with his friends. He's doing it with his friends.
Yeah. There's nothing like sucking ass with your friends. Trust me. We do.
Rafa would know.
100%.
100%. I meant on the golf course, but
Oh, okay.